In this video, I'm going to show you how to set up email marketing for your business so you get high inbox deliverability, low spam complaints, and you can turn your email list into a revenue generation machine. And just a little bit about me, if you don't know who I am, my name is Austin Marland. At this point, I have about 8 years of experience studying email marketing. And at this current time, I manage 3 very large email lists ranging from 9,000 to over 80,000 total subscribers. And if you stay to the end of this video, I'm going to show you a very clever, quick way to use AI to generate subject lines to get your emails opened. So let's start with the fundamentals. How do you even build an email list in the first place? Well, there's a wrong way to do it and there's a right way to do it. So let's talk about what not to do. What you don't want to do is use any kind of scraping tools to scrape strangers' emails off the internet and then send them broadcast. Literally 2-3 days ago, I just saw a guru on Instagram. He was pitching some kind of scraping tool that he's using. I guess he's an affiliate for. And he was telling people, hey, go to your competitor's Instagram account and then just scrape all of their followers, grab their email list and start sending them emails. And that's just an absolutely terrible idea. Under no circumstances should you be doing that. As a rule, you only want to send emails to people that explicitly consent to actually receiving them. And there's a couple of reasons for that. Reason number one is if you're sending emails to people that don't want them, that's probably violating some anti-spam laws in several different countries. If you're in the United States, certainly yes. But reason number two, and more importantly, is that when people receive emails that they didn't ask for, the first thing they're going to do is mark it as spam. I mean, just think about it. Every time you receive an email from some company that you don't know, the first thing you're going to do is mark it as spam. You're going to drag it to your spam folder and you're going to unsubscribe. A lot of business owners who are unfamiliar with email marketing don't realize is that you have a sender reputation. You have an invisible score that Google and Microsoft and the other email gatekeepers, as I'll refer to them, they give you an invisible score based on how many spam complaints you get, based on your open rates, etc. All kinds of little invisible metrics that you can't see. And so if you're sending emails to a bunch of strangers who don't want to see your emails, you're just going to get a ton of spam complaints. And then the probability of your next email actually reaching people that do want it, that do want to see your emails is much lower. Because now your reputation score is much lower. You're just going to reach less inboxes. The best way to build an email list is to create what is called a lead magnet. All a lead magnet is something super valuable that solves a specific problem that you can offer to your audience in exchange for their contact information. What some people do is they create something that's super valuable and they just give it away for free. And in some cases, I've done this before as well. I'll create something and I'll just sell it for a very low ticket, maybe $1, maybe $5, and then that is also a type of lead magnet. But you're just giving something in exchange for contact information. My favorite lead magnets currently, right now, are webinars and ebooks. Both of these are extremely effective. The reason webinars are so effective is because it allows you to do an exclusive, high-value training that solves a specific problem that your audience is having. And in order to join that webinar, that training, they have to give you their contact information. And the same basic concept with ebooks, although ebooks may see a decline over the next few years as AI becomes more and more powerful. But all an ebook is just a way of condensing a bunch of knowledge down into a very easy to read, very easy to consume medium. Very similar to a webinar. The difference is obviously it's not a live thing that people can interact with, but it's just like a booklet that solves a specific problem for your audience. But if you're building an email list with a lead magnet, that guarantees that the people that are opting in actually want to see your content because they have to give you their email address in order to actually get the thing. And so when you start sending them emails, the probability that they're going to mark you as spam is almost zero. Some percentage of those people will unsubscribe. That's inevitable, and that's fine. Those people can unsubscribe if they want, and it's actually better that they do. At this point, you might be wondering, like, what do you do if you have an old email list? Because this is very common. A lot of times a business will build an email list. Maybe it's people that consented with an old lead magnet, and then they just didn't send in very many emails. And so the list just became old. It became dead. They aren't necessarily strangers, but they are old enough to where a lot of these people probably don't even remember you. Well, in short, I would say that you want to follow all of the tips I'm going to be giving you in this video, but you could start off by sending a message that's just like a reactivation email is basically what it is. You say something like, hey, long time no see. Sorry, I haven't sent any emails in a while. Then you send them something kind of valuable, like maybe a recent training you did, a YouTube video that got a lot of engagement, maybe a recent lead magnet that you created. Send something valuable, and then you want to also maybe even bait some responses out of people. At the end of the email, maybe at the final line, or maybe a PS statement, you can say, hey, if you're reading this, just reply, or ask them some kind of open-ended question. And then what you do ideally from there is that anybody that clicks on the link that you gave them or actually responds directly to the email, those people get moved into your main email list, and anybody else basically just gets removed entirely from your email list. So you don't have to worry about sending to dead emails. And you're going to lose a lot of people like this. If you have a list of 1,000 that's basically a dead list, and you send a reactivation email, only a very small percentage of those people are going to click or reply to that email. It is what it is. That's just how it goes. Let me give you an example of creating a very simple but effective reactivation email using AI. So you can do this with ChatGPT or Grok or whatever your favorite AI is, but here's a great prompt that you can use. I have an old email list of 3,000 people that I haven't messaged in over 12 months. I want to send them a message to re-engage these old leads and bring the active people back to my main list. I have a free training video on YouTube titled, fill in the title, that I think they may find valuable. Help me craft an email that gets a lot of opens and clicks. Also brainstorm 10 different subject lines that I can choose from. And let's go ahead and send this. AI is very good at just politely suggesting how you should frame things, especially to people. I mean, this is an old list that you haven't engaged with in a long time. You're not used to sending emails to them. So this is just a good way to get your foot in the door, just to send them something. And also, I like to ask AI to brainstorm several different subject lines so that I have some choices that I can pick. And then what I recommend is whatever the output is, I recommend you come through here and you kind of just tweak all of the sentences a little bit, put your little spin on it, because obviously this isn't written in your voice, it's written in AI's voice, in this case, Grok's voice. So I recommend you come through here, you kind of rephrase some of the sentences. Obviously, you plug in your video title, your specific topic. Another thing I like is that it included this little opt-out here. If this isn't your thing anymore, no worries. Just click the unsubscribe link to let me know. That's great. For an old list, you want people to unsubscribe manually. That way you don't have to do it for them. And then, like I said, I like having AI suggest a bunch of subject lines for me because it just gives me a good starting place. I won't always use these word for word. I'll just pick one that I like and I'll just rephrase it a little bit for my personality. Now the question is, how do you send emails in a way that actually gets high deliverability? Because one mistake that I've seen tons of businesses doing over the years, and people are still doing this to this day, I see it all the time, is they'll send emails from a Gmail account or a Yahoo account. You do not want to do that, trust me. You're guaranteed to get very low deliverability, very high spam complaints. What I recommend you do is you go and you set up a custom domain with Google Workspace or some similar provider. A custom domain would be your name at yourbusiness.com. So it's your name attached to your actual business domain. The advantage of doing this is that not only does it have your custom branding on it, so when people see your emails in their inbox, they can see your website, they can go to your website and see what you're about. But also, when you're sending from a custom domain, it allows you to do a lot more technical stuff on the back end to make sure your deliverability is a lot higher. Now, I'm not going to overwhelm you with technical jargon, but what we're looking for here is we want to make sure we have SBF, DKIM, and DMARC set up. Again, these are just to keep things as simple as possible. These are just 3 technologies that stop spammers and scammers from impersonating your email address online. And you can only really set these up if you have a custom domain of some kind. And just to give you just a quick run through, SBF is something that checks if you have a good or bad reputation. DMARC is like a rule book that tells computers what to do with fishy emails, throw them away or put them in a special folder. And DKIM is like a special stamp that proves the email actually came from you and it's not somebody trying to spoof your email address. So you want to set these 3 things up. I have a dedicated video on how to set these up using Google Workspace. I don't have time to get into it here because it's kind of technical and long-winded, but if you want to check that out, the link will be in the description. Another thing you can do to maintain high inbox deliverability is to actually warm up your inbox. So when you first set up your email domain with Google Workspace, for example, you have to assume that your email reputation is 0. You have 0 sender reputation. You've never sent emails before. Google and Microsoft and the rest assume that you're going to be a spammer by default, so your reputation is very low. So one thing you could do immediately out of the gate to start boosting your reputation is to use your new domain to sign up for several email lists, several newsletters. You can also take the time to send some personal emails to people in your network, friends, family, coworkers, whatever. Just send them emails. Be like, hey, I just opened this brand new email inbox. I just want to warm it up a little bit, send some emails, prove that I'm a real person. Because ultimately, what your domain reputation is based on is whether or not your domain is behaving like an inbox that's controlled by a human. Are the emails you're sending real? Are they going to real people? Are the messages getting responses? Are the messages getting clicks, etc.? And then another thing, the final thing that contributes to your email reputation and ultimately your deliverability is how old your inbox is. Obviously, you don't have a ton of control over this, but just know that over time, as you send more emails, as you get more replies, etc., your reputation does go up just through the time factor alone. So in short, maintaining high deliverability just boils down to trying to optimize that invisible reputation score that you can't see. But you just do that by implementing these DNS settings, SBF, DKIM, and DMARC, and then just sending emails, real emails to real people. That's basically what it boils down to. Don't overthink it. Now, at this point, let me answer this very common question. What is the best email marketing software to use? I've used pretty much everything in the last 8 years that I've studied email marketing. I've used Constant Contact. I've used MailChimp. I've used ActiveCampaign, Klaviyo, ConvertKit. I've used them all. By far, the best all-around software, in my humble opinion, the perfect balance between a good price, easy to use, and integrates with a ton of other softwares is Kit.com, formerly known as ConvertKit. It's just a great software. It just really is. If you're interested in opening a Kit.com account, I have an affiliate link down below. You don't have to use it, obviously, but I really appreciate it if you do. It doesn't cost you anything extra to use my affiliate link. It just gives me a little bit of a kickback if you end up subscribing to them and using them. And I greatly, greatly appreciate it. It helps me out, helps me create more great content. And then as far as how to set up Kit, I actually have a dedicated video on my channel. You can find the link to that in the description as well. Let's talk about what kind of content you should be sending, because there is a right way to send content and a wrong way to send content. And specifically, I'm talking about the email body here. And you might be wondering, why are we starting with the email body and not the subject line? And the reason I'm starting here is because that's where I start. When I sit down to write an email, I start with the email body. I start with the core subject, and then I write a subject line later. And the reason for that is that it allows me to brainstorm a lot more ideas for what my subject line is. And we'll get into subject lines in a second. But just some general rules about writing content for emails is your body should not be scatterbrained. The body of your email should not be scatterbrained. You should pick one clear topic and just stick to that. If you come up with several topics, each of those topics should be its own dedicated email. And one thing you should do is focus on pain or benefit. So your emails focus on one of those two things, one subject, one pain, one benefit. Keep your focus very narrow. Another thing I forgot to write here is there's really no rules on how long your emails should be. If you're writing really, really good content, you can make them longer. But if you're kind of worried about how good your writing skills are, 150 to 200 words is great. It's a great starting point. And then the next thing I recommend you do is you want to write a compelling story around the email. It's not enough to just give people raw information. Like one thing that a lot of businesses do wrong is they'll just be like, hey, here's a checklist of 3 things that you should be doing for Amazon FBA or whatever. And then they just list out a bunch of factual things. And then that's it. That's the email. Maybe a call to action. And that they close it off. It's really important that you use a concept called infotainment. This is a phrase that was popularized by Ben Settle, who is probably one of the top email marketers in the world. But the idea is that you're giving people information, but you're wrapping it in entertainment. You want your emails to be compelling, entertaining. You want them to have real life stories from your life. If you're just giving people raw information, it's very forgettable. It's not going to get a lot of engagement. You're going to get a lot of unsubscribes. But if you actually take the time to put your personality into it, it demonstrates that your emails aren't written by AI, that they're actually written by you, a real human, and that other humans want to connect with humans. And so it's very important that you do this. You're going to get better engagement, better sales overall. And then similar to picking one subject matter to talk about, I also recommend you have one clear call to action. That's a mistake I've seen other business owners do, is they'll create an email and then they'll just try to link everything that they can possibly think of. Here's my social media. Here's, my Facebook, my YouTube, my Twitter, and here's a link to buy this product. Here's a link to buy another product. And here's this workshop that I'm doing. Like, No, one call to action. The more different links you have, the more likely you're going to get marked as spam anyway, both by the email gatekeepers, but also by the people reading your emails. Keep things super simple. The average person, if they see multiple links in your email, they're just going to click one of them anyway. They're not going to click all of them. They're not going to go through each of your links. They're going to click just one. So make it one email topic, one call to action. That's it. And then here at the bottom, I wrote PS statements. This is a little trick that I learned a few years ago. The reason PS statements are so good is because there is a huge percentage of people that open emails and then just skim everything, scroll down to the bottom, and then read the call to action. And what I've found is that if I include a PS statement in a lot of my emails, most of my emails, the people that are skimmers, they'll open the email, they'll scroll down to the bottom, they'll read the call to action, and then they'll read the PS statement. In my case, I just make my PS statement a couple of sentences long. I summarize the basic idea of the email, and then I reiterate the call to action again. And for those people that are skimmers, they'll scroll to the bottom, they'll read the PS statement, and oftentimes they will click the link when they otherwise wouldn't have. And so it's just a great opportunity for you to get a little extra engagement out of your emails. I highly recommend you use it. All right, let's move on to the next thing. The most important thing to getting your emails actually opened is obviously your subject line. So I'm going to teach you how to ethically leverage a fundamental weakness of human psychology to your benefit. The subject line is probably the most important part of the email. Think about your emails sort of like a funnel. At the top, you have your subject line. That's what everybody sees, is assuming you have high deliverability, right? So if you have a really good subject line, then a ton of people are actually going to click on the email itself. And then if a ton of people click on the email itself, they're going to read the body of the email. And if the body is also good, then they're going to click on the link at the bottom. And if they click the link on the bottom, there's a high chance that they will book a call or buy a product from you. But if your subject line is bad at the top of this funnel, and it gets very low click rates, or it's some terrible subject line that drives people away, then it affects all these other metrics. Obviously, should go without saying, your subject line is very important. It's very important to getting people to buy. So how do I craft subject lines that get opens? Well, like I said earlier, I like to write my subject line last. I write the body of the email first, and then I write the subject line later. And one little trick that I found that's really effective for brainstorming really good subject lines is to use AI. The body of my email, I'll just copy and paste it, put it into my favorite AI, and then I'll use a prompt that's similar to this. Using this email body, I want you to craft 10 curiosity-driven email subject lines that are short and compel the reader to open the email and see what's inside. So let's try it out. Navigate over here to your favorite AI, whichever one that is. In my case, it's Grok. I'm going to paste in this email that I wrote about webinars. I'm not going to sit here and worry about the formatting too much. AI can figure it out. And then I'm going to paste in my prompt. Let's see what Grok comes up with. Here are 10 curiosity-driven email subject lines that are short, engaging, and designed to compel the reader to open your email. And I got to say, just glancing at this, these are decent. And so I'll use this often. I won't copy and paste these exactly, but I'll often use the AI suggestions as a starting place to just make a great email subject line. The key here is to leverage a fundamental human weakness called curiosity. If you want to get your emails opened, you don't want to reveal all the secret sauce. And the same thing with the email body itself. This is something I didn't mention in the last section, but if you want to get a ton of clicks, you also want to leverage curiosity. So in other words, you give them just enough information to whet their appetite, but leave them craving for more. So a great subject line, for example, why your webinars aren't enough. It's very short, it's very concise, it piques their curiosity. Anybody that's relevant, that's running webinars, which a lot of my audience are, they're going to read that subject line and they'll go, why are my webinars not enough? And they're going to want to click the email. Now let's talk about how you should format your emails. This is really important because this is probably, again, this is one of those big mistakes that I see business owners making all the time with their emails. And this is also very controversial because there's going to be a lot of e-commerce type guys that might watch this. They're going to disagree with me completely. But this is a fact. Images, GIFs, buttons, videos, downloads, banners, logos, icons, all of those things, if you put them in your emails, you are going to decrease your email deliverability. It's a fact. It's undeniable. The emails that are more plain, that are simple, that are plain text, that have no extra stuff on them, they undeniably get higher deliverability. It just is a fact. And so if you have a massive email list, it becomes worth your time to optimize for deliverability as much as possible. You'll see it directly in your bottom line. If you send two emails that are exactly the same content, but one has a ton of images and maybe an embedded video and a bunch of other stuff in it, and the other one is just plain text, all other things are equal. The one that's plain text is going to outperform the other one. That's just the way it is. The simple way to think about this is, how would you, if you were to write an email to a friend of yours, a close friend or a family member like your mother, for example, for some reason, maybe she's not on Facebook or something, and you wanted to send her an email, you're not going to sit down and put in a banner and a logo and a bunch of other stuff. You're going to probably just write an email that says, hey, mom, check this out. And then the body, it's going to be some text and maybe a link. And that's it. It's just going to be plain text. That's the exact mentality you want to have when you're sending emails to a massive audience of yours. It might seem counterintuitive, but simplicity is what gets high deliverability. And high deliverability is what gets high sales. Now let's talk about how often you should be sending emails. Again, I've got some controversial advice for you here, but this is just based on my testing, my observations, and talking to tons of other people in the industry. But I'm just going to be blunt. I'm going to say the more emails that you send, the more money you're going to make. That is just a fact. If you have a massive email list and you send a ton of emails to them, and then you send more emails to them, you're going to make more money. It's just the way it works. That's assuming you're following all the guidelines that I've laid out in this video. More emails is better. Now, a common response that I get when I tell people, hey, send more emails, is that sending more emails is just too much, or I would unsubscribe if a list did that to me. And that's fair enough. And that's why list segmentation is actually very important. One of the segments that you can actually have is people that are receiving too many emails. You can have like a little opt-out box where they don't unsubscribe completely. They just opt into a list that gets less emails, or maybe they only get once a week or once a month or whatever. Another thing that I tell people is that the people that don't want to see your emails they tend not to be your ideal customers anyway. So if they opt out, that's good. You want your email list to be the most highly engaged people possible. And so if you're sending a lot of emails and that annoys people, those people just need to leave. They can unsubscribe, and that's fine. Because the people that do enjoy your content will continue to read most of your emails and click most of your links, and you're going to make a lot more money. So exactly how many emails should you be sending to your list? It's hard to answer that question. You kind of have to find the sweet spot for your email list, find what's good for you. So you want to be sending out high quality content. You also don't want to have a tremendous number of unsubscribe rates either. So you got to kind of try to find the balance there. One of the lists that I was managing for a long time, we were sending daily emails every single day, 365 days a year. And then on days that we had some kind of big promotion, we'd sometimes send 3 or 4 emails promoting whatever the offer was. For some of the lists I managed, we tested out 7 days a week, and then we dropped it down to like 3 days a week. Just because the list, there just wasn't enough content that we could possibly send them that was high quality. And so you kind of have to find the balance. But again, generally speaking, if you send more emails, you're getting your name in front of people, you're getting your name back in people's brains, and the people that are the most engaged with you will want to buy from you. And so more emails is better as a general rule. Now, is there a minimum number of emails you should be sending? Yes. Personally, if you're going to take the time to manage an email list, I would not be sending less than 1 email per week. If you send too much less than that, people tend to forget that they even subscribe to you. People have very short memories. A lot of people are subscribed to a lot of different email lists. If you send like 1 a month, you're going to get a ton of unsubscribes because people they forgot you they even subscribed to you a month ago. So if you're trying to tiptoe around people and not annoy people by sending less emails, you're actually shooting yourself in the foot, because when you send too few emails, people just completely forget that they subscribed to you in the first place, and then often they'll just unsubscribe or mark you as spam. So it's actually counterintuitive to send less emails. So again, minimum once per week. Probably the sweet spot for most businesses is 3 times a week. And then for really high volume with tons of content, if you're just cranking out stuff, you've got lots of offers, you've got lots of content, more emails is better. Just send more. Just send 7 a week if that's possible. Let's talk about cleaning your email list. This is not something I do very often, but it's worth mentioning because people ask me about it a lot. But over time, you're going to accumulate tons of dead email accounts. These aren't spam emails or fake emails. These are people that sign up for your stuff, for your lead magnets or whatever, and they just use like a secondary email account. And a lot of people do this. So they'll buy products or whatever, and they'll just use that secondary account so they don't have to see the emails. They treat it like a spam inbox, essentially. And so as you send out, you've got a lot of lead magnets, you're sending out lots of content, you're going to accumulate lots of these dead, cold subscribers over time. And so the question is, should you prune these people from your list or not? And there's basically two schools of thought around this. And I'll give you both of these schools of thought and you can make your own decision. So one school of thought is that you should be removing these dead or cold emails from your email list as soon as possible, because they're just dragging down your deliverability possibly. They're dragging down your open rates, your click-through rates, and they're just adding a lot of dead weight to your email list. And potentially they're even costing you money, because a lot of email softwares have like price thresholds depending on how many subscribers you have. So if you have a ton of subscribers and a huge percentage of them are dead, those people are actually costing you money. So one school of thought is to remove those people as quickly as possible, to clean your email list, to prune your email list regularly. The other school of thought is that these cold emails aren't fundamentally doing anything harmful to your email list. The only real tangible benefit of removing those cold emails is that it potentially might cost you less money to send emails in the first place, decreases your subscription costs, for example. Removing these people is just kind of a waste of time and energy, especially considering that a lot of them aren't even dead emails. They're just people that don't check their emails very often. They're just not highly engaged. And those people might become reactivated later just by continuously sending them content. And so this second school of thought is more around the mindset that you shouldn't really care too much about your open rates or your click-through rates anyway. You should be optimizing entirely based on sales and not worry too much about who's considered cold and who's considered dead. Also, part of that school of thought, people argue that it's hard for the email marketing softwares to determine who's cold in the first place, because there's a lot of privacy software on devices and browsers these days that stops these email broadcasting softwares from seeing who's cold in the first place. And so there's a chance if you prune these emails that these emails subscribers that you're going to remove people that are potentially warm. So those are the two schools of thoughts. I'll let you decide. Like I said, personally, I don't put too much energy into cleaning the dead subscribers, the cold subscribers out of my lists. But I will tell you one thing that I do. A lot of email softwares contain ways to exclude or specifically target cold or warm subscribers. And let me show you what that looks like inside of Kit. So if I create a brand new broadcast, and this isn't a real email, so it doesn't really matter what the content is. I just put some nonsense here in the subject line and the body. I'm going to hit continue. Now, when I go to send the email, Kit allows me to select what kind of groups and segments and tags and sequences that I'm actually sending this email to. And so one feature that they have is they allow you to actually filter for cold subscribers. And so right now you can see there's 81,000 people in this email list. If I add the cold subscribers filter, I'm now targeting 34,000 people. So that's if I was sending an email to these cold subscribers. So on this email list, according to Kit, 34,000 of these people are cold. Now, by Kit standards, cold is anybody that hasn't engaged with an email in 90 days. But like I said, again, there's a lot of people that are using iPhones and other devices that have privacy settings that stop Kit from seeing if they've even engaged with an email to begin with. So you have to take this number with a grain of salt. Your cold email subscribers aren't as high as you think they are, because these estimates are just estimates. But if you want to send emails to just the warm list, you would say matching none cold subscribers. And now I'm sending an email to 47,000 people that are considered warm, and the cold subscribers are excluded. And now this allows me to keep the cold subscribers on my email list. I can still occasionally send them emails. I can send them reactivation emails. I can send them special offers, etc. But I don't have to actually remove them entirely from my email list. Because as you can see, in this case, that would mean I'm removing 34,000 people from my email list, which I absolutely do not want to do, because I can guarantee you a ton of those cold people are not actually cold at all. They're just estimated to be cold by Kit. So you have to be very, very careful with removing cold email subscribers. All right, let's talk about segmentation. I just read a study recently by Porch Group Media that showed that marketers who segment their email lists increase their revenue on average by 760%. Fundamentally, what segmentation means is you're just making your emails feel a little bit more personal. Or at the very least, you're excluding people entirely from unnecessary emails. So, for example, targeting just cold subscribers or targeting just warm subscribers, That's a very basic type of segmentation. Another type of segmentation would be having a different type of welcome sequence for a different lead magnet. Maybe you have a lead magnet over here that solves specific problem A. You're going to have a specific welcome sequence that talks about that specific problem, that's for those specific people. When people sign up for that lead magnet, they see that welcome sequence. Whereas over here, maybe you have a webinar that talks about problem B that your niche is having. And when people sign up for that webinar, it leads them through a completely different welcome sequence, introducing them to your list, but also talks about that specific problem. So that's a type of segmentation that you could do. Another type of basic segmentation is just adding tags to people. Maybe the source that they joined the list from, or maybe a specific product that they bought, or a specific event that they signed up. You add a tag to them, and then later you can send emails to them. Segmentation is definitely useful. I'm not sure if I believe this study, increasing revenue by 760%. That seems a little bit outrageous. I also just don't know how exactly they're measuring that. That just seems very difficult to quantify. Just as a general rule, I'll just say that segmentation is definitely good and you should be doing it. But like with all things in life, 80% of your results are going to come from 20% of your efforts here. So don't go too crazy with segmentation, because you're just adding a ton of complexity to your email list. You don't want 50 different welcome sequences. It just doesn't make sense to do that. In some cases, it might make sense to have 2, maybe 3 different welcome sequences, but don't go too nuts with this. It's just going to end up being a tremendous amount of time for you that doesn't lead to sales. Now, to wrap up this video, I want to talk about the best types of engagement that you can get for your email list, what you should be optimizing for. So before we get into the engagement, let me just talk about what you should be optimizing for. You can really only optimize for one variable at a time if you think about it. And so if you had to pick one thing to make your email list centered around, to be optimized around, it should be sales above all else. No other metric really matters if you think about it. Open rates, click-through rates, replies, those are great to have, but those are just vanity metrics at the end of the day. If you're running an email list and you're running a business, all that really matters is how much money your email list is making, fundamentally. Okay, so that being said, let's put that aside. Let's assume you're already optimizing for sales, and that's the main thing you care about. The type of engagements that you get, like opens and click-through rates, still matters. And one type of engagement that nobody ever really talks about in the email marketing world is replies. And it's a good idea to try to get replies, because think about it. Open rates are great because they show that people are interested, that you wrote a really good subject line, that people are engaged on a basic level and they're opening your emails. Click-through rates are even better because it shows that not only did people open your email, but they actually clicked on some links in your emails. So that's the next level of engagement that's even better. But replies are the absolute best thing that you could go for in terms of engagement, because it demonstrates that not only are people opening your emails, but they're taking the time to invest into sending you a personal message. Now, in some cases, that might be a hater or somebody that's complaining about something, obviously. But even in that situation, a reply is still very good for you because a reply boosts your engagement score. Think about it this way. If you send a broadcast to 1,000 different people and 100 of them reply to your email, even if a chunk of those 100 people are negative replies, it's still very good. It makes your email list look very good. It boosts your reputation because it shows Google and Apple and Microsoft that you're sending emails that are engaging and that are useful, and real people are responding to them. Replies are something that you should definitely try to bait, so to speak, at least periodically. What I like to do is send at least one email a month that's specifically reply bait. It'll be something like, it'll just be a short email that just asks an open-ended question. One of my favorite things to do is, how can I help you emails? So the subject line will be something like, are you dealing with this problem? Name. And then the email will be like, hey, I'm building this new resource, this new training video, this new product, new whatever. I'd like your feedback. What problems are you currently experiencing? Reply, and I'll respond as soon as possible. And then I'll send that short email to my entire list and just see what kind of replies I get. Sometimes I get hundreds of replies to those types of emails. And it's great because it just boosts your engagement, and it also allows you to build a one-on-one connection with some of the most engaged people with your brand. From an email marketing perspective, replies are very hard to fake, And so if you're getting a lot of replies, good or bad, to your emails, it does nothing but benefit you. And so I recommend you try to incorporate that into your email marketing strategy. It's going to benefit you in the long run. And it's going to help you just identify some of the people that are extremely highly engaged so that you can potentially have a one-on-one conversation with them and sell them into your products or services. Other than that, that is how you do email marketing. If you found this video useful, please hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't already. If you're a business owner that wants help with your email marketing strategy, you can book a call with me down below. And if you found this video about email marketing useful, I've got 2 more videos. One of them is bound to be useful to you as well. I recommend you go watch one of those. Thanks for watching.